Parshas VaEsChanan. This coming Shabbos is the Shabbos after Tisha B'Av, which is called Shabbos Nachamu. And in Klal Yisrael, it's celebrated as one of the happy times of the year, coming out of the 3 weeks, coming out of the 9 days, Shavuot Shechalboi, Tisha B'Av, this very, very heavy period of time. Right after, number one, during Tisha B'Av, from midday and on, we see already a little bit of a change. Getting up from the floor, getting up from the ground, picking ourselves up a little bit. And then the day after Tisha B'Av, able to shower, wash clothing again, and leading into Shabbos Nachamu, which is sort of a peak of the reversal of the down that we were going through during this period of time, and peaking with this Shabbos Nachamu. And it's a custom in many places that there's special celebration on that Shabbos, concerts after Shabbos, music, to show that things are turning around completely. Rab Nasan Zal, in about 8 or 9 places in Likutei Halachos, discusses the incredible significance of this Shabbos, Shabbos Nachamu. The name Shabbos Nachamu comes from the Haftorah that we read, which begins with the words Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, Yoimar Elekechem. That Hashem says to the Jews who, until now, we were feeling rejected, dejected, cut off completely, separated from Hashem, and Hashem says, be consoled, a double consolation. What is this double consolation? We'll mention some of the highlights from Likutei Halachos. In Hilchos Beis HaKnesses, Halacha Hey, paragraph Zayin, which is in the first volume of Orach Chaim, Rab Nasan Zal quotes one of the sentences in this Haftorah, where it says, Koil koirei bamidbar, a voice cries out in the desert, Panu derech Hashem, carve out, prepare a path for Hashem, Yashru bo'arava, mesila lalekenu. And even in the Arava is the desert, the complete desert wilderness, Yashru bo'arava, mesila lalekenu. We carve out in the Arava a path for Hashem. And Rab Nasan Zal says the message in this for us is that just as we see Klal Yisrael going through Yeridas and Aliyas, we know that we went through 210 years of being out of Eretz Yisrael, being in Egypt, the lowest, the antithesis of Eretz Yisrael. The Torah describes Eretz Yisrael as Govoya mikol ha'arotzos. Eretz Yisrael is the highest of all the lands, and Eretz Yisrael is the place of miracles, the place of tefillah. Jews all over the world face Eretz Yisrael with our prayers, because we know that our prayers go up to Hashem from Eretz Yisrael. Egypt, Mitzrayim, is the exact opposite of that. When Moshe Rabbeinu had to daven in Egypt, he said to Paroi, Kitseisi esoir, when I leave the city, Efrois eskapai el Hashem, I'll spread out my hands to Hashem. So after going through 210 years, Yerida, Moshe Rabbeinu comes along on his white horse and performs miracle after miracle after miracle, battering the Egyptians. Again and again, battering Paroi, and each time Paroi comes back for more, until finally, Makas B'choros, when Paroi seems to be willing to admit, you win, get out of here. And the Jews leave, and they're out, they're free, and they're not free. They come to the Yam Suf, and Paroi's back. And then Paroi gets his final defeat in Kriyas Yam Suf. And you figure it's all over, it's finished. Not finished. We go across the Yam Suf, and the Torah tells us about the ups and downs that Klal Yisrael have throughout the entire time. The Egel Hazov, the golden calf, the Meraglim. And Hashem issues a decree that instead of getting to Eretz Yisrael in 3 days, it's going to take not 3 years, not 30 years, but 40 years. 40 years of wandering around in the desert. And what are Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron HaKohen doing during those 40 years? They're doing what we said here. Koil koirei bamidbar, panu derech Hashem, Yashru Ba'arava Mesila Loikenu. They're carving out a path for Hashem. We know that the place where Hashem resides with Klal Yisrael is in Eretz Yisrael. There's a Mishnah that says that there are 10 levels of holiness in the world. Level 1 is Eretz Yisrael. Holiness begins in Eretz Yisrael. So you would think that Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron HaKohen would tell the Jews, we'd love to celebrate, we'd love to have holiness, we'd love to connect with the Shekhinah, but you're simply going to have to wait. You have to wait till we get to Eretz Yisrael. And that's not what we see. We see that the tzaddikim, the greatest of the tzaddikim, Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron HaKohen, are able to set up shop even in Chutz La'aretz, even outside in the desert, in the wilderness. They're able to set up a mishkan there, Mesila L'Elokeinu, a path, carving out a path, going through the desert and weaving in and out different places, carving out a path to Eretz Yisrael, the path that led to a victory, to a final victory, where Moshe Rabbeinu succeeded in defeating Sichain and Oig, the most powerful Klipos and Tumah that were guarding the entranceway to Eretz Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu succeeded in eliminating them, paving the way for his student Yeshua to be able to lead the Jews into Eretz Yisrael. Rab Nasan Zal says, this is exactly what the tzaddikim are doing today. This is exactly what we're going through today. We're going through the derech to Eretz Yisrael. The tzaddikim are involved in carving out a path in the desert, in the wilderness, in places in Chutz La'aretz where you would think there's no trace of Yiddishkeit, there's no possibility of Yiddishkeit. The tzaddikim send emissaries who parachute into these different places and suddenly set up a shul, a yeshiva, a mikveh. Suddenly there's a place where Jews are being drawn to Hashem. And the Sforim, just like we find in Megillas Esther, that after the great miracle bringing about the downfall of Haman, Amalek, that Mordechai and Esther was zeicha to do, Vatichtoiv Esther Amalka. Esther Amalka knew she couldn't travel the world. They didn't have spaceships then, but she wanted to get the message. She wanted to teach the whole world, tell the whole world about Hashem, about the great miracle that Hashem did for Klal Yisrael in saving the Jews. And the Megillah says the Sforim spread throughout the entire world. And that's how the message was brought to Klal Yisrael and to the entire world. And Rab Nasan Zal says this is actually what's taking place now. The tzaddikim are preparing Klal Yisrael in the world, the building of the final Beis HaMikdash. And the only way it can be done is not by just waiting until we have it, but until we have a Beis HaMikdash, there's the Mikdash Ma'at. There are the Botei Knesiyos and the Botei Midrashos. There are shuls and yeshivas that are being built in Eretz Yisrael and even outside of Eretz Yisrael, where even those places, Rabbeinu Zal says that when the Jews find themselves outside of Eretz Yisrael, but they set up a community, not one person, but a minyan, a shul, a yeshiva, and there are Sforim, the Sforim of the tzaddikim reach there. This is the preparation. This is our nachamu. This is our consolation. This is what lets us know that we definitely are coming back. If the tzaddikim can turn desert into holiness, if they can remove the klipos and the sitra achra from the desert, in a place like that, they can set up a mishkan. They can set up yeshivas and schools and centers for Torah and tefillah. Then for sure, as soon as the right time comes, in our own hometown, in Eretz Yisrael, in Yerushalayim HaKodesh, there for sure they're going to succeed in setting up the third and final Beis HaMikdash. And this is the message, the nachamu, that Hashem says, be consoled, be consoled.